Hi, Anton.
Hi, Peter.
Nice to see you.
Yes, nice to see you too. How are you?
I'm good. Where are
good?
you?
Me too, I'm good. I have my Cuba Libre.
Oh, good for you. Nice. Nice. Does this background look okay?
Absolutely.
I could also do.
Like this is okay. I like this painting the
All right.
the left corner.
Yes.
Hi, Peter. Sorry, this is YouTube.
Yes. So I'm hoping, in terms of videos, I have a whole bunch of clips pulled up on Vimeo that I guess the best way to do will be to just share my screen.
Yes.
So am I enabled to do that?
Did you do this before? You can try if you want.
Okay, let me try.
Yeah, yeah.
Hang on. To see how this works. Can you see that?
Yeah. Yeah, I see. That's okay.
Okay. Great. And then I'll just go back and forth when I don't need to share that anymore. Just come
Yeah.
back to this.
Yeah, that works.
It's a little bit clunky. I think you might, I don't know if I don't think I can do it without seeing, you know, the Vimeo logo and all that, have it go straight to video, but I think it'll be okay.
I think it's okay. Don't worry. Let's do some advertisement for Vimeo.
Yeah. Right, exactly. Where are you?
Good.
Where are you?
I'm at home
Okay.
on Podil.
Nice.
Yes. I'm in Kyiv. My family is on vacation
Where are they?
at the Black Sea coast in Odessa.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And I'm going to visit them. I go there on 28th.
Okay.
And we'll be there for 3, 4, 5 days more, and then we come back to Kyiv together.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
That's good.
And you, what you're doing there?
Oh, I'm working a lot preparing for the new school year. There's a lot of preparation I have to do because I'm teaching some new courses and it's all going to be online. So I have to get everything organized to be able to do that. And doing a lot of gardening and raising the puppy. Do you want to see the puppy? He's getting so big.
Whoa, Peter. Oh. So it looks like when I was in school in 5th or 6th degree, I think I had the same dog.
Yeah.
Terrier, Airedale
Yes,
Terrier.
he's an Airedale Terrier.
Really?
Yeah.
So I had the same, Peter.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So you have fun.
Have a lot of fun. We're trying to train him also, though, and it's challenging. You know, puppies like to chew on everything, and
Yeah.
we're doing okay with the house training. That's going okay.
He sleeps with you, or he has
He has a little crate.
Okay.
And so part of that is just to make sure that he doesn't have any accidents in the night. You know, eventually he may not need to stay in there, but you know, until he's a little bit older, we'll keep him.
Yeah. Did you do this? You know, I like in these big houses, these small doors in the big doors, especially for puppies. They
No,
can
we
go
didn't
in
do
and out.
We didn't do that. He will be too big, you know, eventually for.
Yeah.
We would have to do a big door inside.
Yeah,
of it.
they're really big.
I don't want to do that.
But you know, it's you know, for the dog, it's cool when they want to go outside wherever they want it.
Yes, but we have to be a little bit careful about that because we have bears here.
Yeah, and you don't have the fence.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see. Yes, Scott. You take him with you. There's a treat for him on the sideboard in the hallway there.
Are you sure?
Well, well, only if we need him to be occupied.
Okay.
I'll probably be with Anton until about 2:15.
Puppy.
Scott says hi.
Hello.
How many of
Okay.
these have you done?
Hmm?
How many of these have you done?
Now it's fourth. And we're going to have another one next week with the lady from Brazil.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we met first time when I was there with Maida
Uh-huh.
2 years ago for the festival in São Paulo.
And where are you posting all of these?
They all on my Vimeo account.
Uh-huh.
So, but after we do it, I took the recording and I add some credits or whatever, and then I download it again, and then I'll send you the link if you want to share. You
Yeah,
can
I
share.
will, definitely.
And then I always cut this beginning, like we're talking now, and it's already recorded.
Right.
So then I need to cut just only the interview.
Right.
But I don't cut any questions or answers or anything.
Okay.
So yeah, anyway, feel comfortable. I think for me it's just like a friendly conversation, not like an official interview, especially now when I do it at home, because when we started we did it at the kind of TV studio.
Right.
And I was really nervous first time, it's like then the second time we made in Post Play Theater.
Uh-huh.
And then now it's evening, and they have rehearsals in the theater.
Right.
So unfortunately it's impossible. So I said, it's okay, I can do it at home. It's okay.
Good.
Yeah, so we can start now. It's 8 p.m. in Kiev, 1 in Hartford.
Yes.
And we already started, but probably somebody will join us, or if not, they will join us later when we put the recording on.
Right.
Peter, I know, I will start right now. I have some questions prepared, but some of them will come just from the conversation. But
Right.
I know that you was dancing a lot. I don't know, maybe all your professional career with Ellen Nicolai Company. And am I right? Was it really like the whole your professional career?
No, a big part of it and an important part of it. But I danced for a few other people before him. Basically, the 2 years after I finished college, I was dancing with other people in New York mostly, although actually my very first professional job was here in Hartford, where I'm now living.
Oh, really?
I was coming up here 2 days a week to dance and rehearse, and then living down close to New York City and going into the city to take dance classes when I could. I was just learning about the world of dance at that time. I didn't start dancing until I was 18.
Yeah, I know.
So,
Almost like me, by the way. I also started dancing when I was 14. But
Right.
now for younger generation, now it's quite strange, because I know a lot of people start dancing like at 6 years, 8 years old,
yeah.
very young, and when they 18, they already feel like they are really big dance stars.
That's true.
It wasn't like that 30, 40 years ago.
No, and definitely not for boys either, for men. You know, I think, at least in this country. Um, yeah, so I auditioned for and joined the Nikolai.
Was it difficult, by the way? Was it difficult to join the company? Was it sort of famous company when you joined it?
Yeah, it was competitive. It was competitive. Actually, in 1992 is when I joined the company in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, about this time, I think it was in July 1992. And I had auditioned for the company the previous December or January. So 6 or 7 months earlier, they had an audition, and I wasn't selected, and I was very disappointed. They gave me a scholarship to their studio, to their school,
Mm-hmm.
and I stupidly, you know, said, no, I need a job. Thank you very much, but I need a job. So I didn't accept the scholarship, which was really foolish in many ways. But then 6 months later, they had another audition. And I think the person that they hired in January, I think he had gotten injured or something. So they had another audition, and that time they hired me. And I danced with them over the period of the next 7 years. But I took a break in between because I went to graduate school for 2 years and came back.
Where the company was based?
New York City.
In New York City. So you lived in New York City?
Yes. So that I had just moved into New York City.
Okay.
That summer, 1992, I had my first apartment in Brooklyn. All of my friends were living in Manhattan. Brooklyn was not the place to be yet.
Mm-hmm.
Wants to be in Brooklyn.
And you only worked for the company. You didn't have another work.
Yes, that was kind of an amazing thing that I mean, I didn't make a lot of money.
That's actually my question. How was it? I don't think now it's possible for maybe only for the big, really high finance companies. How it's possible just to work for the dance company and have money for living in New York City, for apartment, for food, for everything.
Yeah, I mean, I was sharing my apartment with a roommate, and I think I was paying, my share of the rent was like $400 a month. And I think I made $500 a week.
Not bad, not bad.
Is that true, or was it? No, I think that's what it was. But we were working 6 hours a day, 6 to 7 hours a day, plus taking 2 hours of dance class with the company before that. So it was a full day of work. And it wasn't year round. I mean, there were periods of time when we were unemployed. And it actually, at that time, and maybe still, I don't know exactly, it was a sort of strange rite of passage in some ways to be able to say that I had enough weeks of consistent work that I was allowed to earn unemployment benefits when the company didn't have work for me. And that was in many ways a sign of, oh, I'm doing well, even though you're sort of not dancing fully. But it was a beautiful time, a very rich time for me. I was so young and so new to dance still.
And what was new for you with the work with the company, with the Nikolai company? What was
it was
special? What was, maybe you didn't expect something?
I mean, it was a world famous company at that time. And it had been around for almost 50 years. So I was joining an organization that had a lot of history.
Yeah.
And that was exciting because I, was able to learn about that history and dance with people that were much more advanced than me, much older than I was. Murray Lewis and Nikolai was quite ill by the time I joined the company. I knew him and took some classes with him, but he was mostly not actively directing the company anymore at that time, because he died within that year, about a year later.
Okay.
So really, Murray Lewis and other people were the main people that really, that I worked under when I was there. I think also, Anton, one of the things that was so unique to me about that was the philosophy behind the enterprise, this notion of there being a whole philosophy of how to think about movement and motion in relationship to the much larger world, and the way that we approached dance in relationship to props and scenery and lighting and sound was integrated in a way that I maybe up to that point hadn't fully experienced.
It's quite difficult to imagine what you mean when you say about the props and everything. Do you have anything, any kind of video of that time when you was dancing with the Nikolai?
I did not pull one of those up with me, but I wonder if I can find it actually. Hang on one second.
Yeah.
This is not me dancing, but it will show you a very short clip of a duet. I hope it's okay for me to share this. It's an early duet that Nikolai made, I think in the 1960s, from a larger work. And we just revived this duet for some dancers here in Connecticut last fall.
You told me. Yeah, I remember.
So let me see if I can pull this up. And I'm going to try to share my screen. It's not a very good quality video. I apologize.
It's okay. I think it's not so new.
This performance is probably from the 1990s, around the time when I was in the company.
Okay.
And so these are two colleagues of mine, Alberto Del Saz in the green and Simona Bucci in the blue. And they were both senior company members at the time. And this is called Rooftop. It's from a dance called Imago.
And the backdrop, it's a kind of a moon, full moon.
Yes, but I think it's achieved with a slide projection, I believe, which was an innovation of Nikolai's back then in the 60s, when a lot of these kinds of technologies weren't so commonplace in dance. And so this is part of a whole evening length work that has many sections and a full company of 10 dancers. As you know, Nikolai did all of the music himself. And he's, I think one of the hallmarks of his work physically is the real attention to detail in terms of dynamic and shape.
Yeah, it's really beautiful, Peter. It's very, very much detailed, and so each movement is so clear, and yeah.
Right. So I'll come back to you now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I think one of the things that I loved about that time was the level of detail that was demanded of us. It was very high, and so we had to, it sort of may sound silly or cliche to say it, but we worked really hard to, because we were also touring all over the world, and because many people had been through this company before us, in many ways it felt like we had to live up to the standard that was set before us. So much of my time in the company was we were reviving old repertory, which was also very exciting because I got a perspective on the whole history of the work that was being created, not only by Nikolai, but also by Murray Lewis, who was a brilliant dancer and choreographer himself. So yeah, I also think that, I don't know if this was an unusual notion, but the whole one of the central ideas of Nicolai's theory, and you and I have probably talked about this before, is the idea of decentralization. That he was very interested in the idea that the human being is not the center of the universe, but is an active, dynamic part of a much larger system, but not the center of it. And I think when he was developing his ideas about the art form, it was also, we have to remember that it was not too long after World War II. And he was a soldier in World War II in Europe and France. And I think his experiences about humanity, having been at war, helped inform the way that he developed his ideas about what he wanted to do with dance. And so many of his dances are very much about the individual in relationship to the larger environment, and how 10 individuals, the company was always 10 dancers, 5 men and 5 women, how those individuals are part of making the whole image, the whole environment of the stage, a kind of unique world. And he did that by incorporating lighting and projections and props and sets, thinking very much as a multimedia artist, I think.
Yeah. Interesting. And talking about that you told before that you had, that was quite a good situation for the dancers. I mean, working in the company and have the work and money and touring and everything, and new experience. And I'm just curious what you think. How can a dancer survive now in the United States, the young dancers? Because I know you work with the dancers as a teacher in the university. Probably you also discuss these questions with the students. And what do you know and what do you think about the situation now for the dancers?
Well, it's definitely different than it was for me.
I'm sure it's different.
No, it's been 30 years, so a lot has changed economically, about the city, about the country, about the relationship of the arts to the rest of the economy. New York City, you know, I think was already expensive back then, but it became much more so. And I think also, I mean, I'll do my best to see what I can say about that question, but you know, my perspective is different, I'm sure, than if you were to ask someone who's 21 and just starting out. They probably would, you know, have other things to say. But I know that when I was still living in New York City and hiring dancers, that one of the things that I felt that I observed that really changed from my perspective was I was able to take dance class almost every day and have rehearsal throughout the week, and live in it wasn't a fancy apartment, but it was comfortable, for not a whole lot of money. And I was able to afford paying for dance classes. And I know that even at that time, many friends of mine who didn't have the kind of dance job that I had, they were working more freelance. Many of them had restaurant jobs or other jobs, and that's been true, I think, throughout the history of the art form in many cases, unless you are in the top of the top companies. So I think even now, it's very difficult for most of the dancers that are trying to work professionally. It's very difficult to make a living just dancing. Many of them teach whether they teach dance to children or to senior citizens or to adults, or maybe they teach other things. Many work in restaurants or bars, many work in offices. And I know that when I was hiring dancers, sometimes what I experienced is that they would be coming directly from their job to rehearsal, and they, because the cost of living had gone up so much and I was not able to pay them as well as maybe I had been paid originally, or I didn't have enough work for them throughout the year, right? So I shifted to working in a project-based model rather than a contract-based model where you are guaranteed X number of weeks of employment.
Yeah, that actually that's what I see here in Ukraine. I know I don't know so many dancers. I didn't talk with a lot of them, but I knew that some of them also working in some restaurants or do some other work where I don't know, some craft, handmade or whatever, and that's why I'm curious why still so many people I think in Ukraine it's even more than in the United States, for example. Still so many young people want to get the dance education. They go to university, to colleges, to get this choreographers and dancers teachers diploma, and I'm just trying to understand. Maybe my point of view is that they probably don't know what to expect. Maybe probably they just have fun dance and they like this state of being in the process of, I don't know, of creating or of showing on something, but they don't think about the future, how they're going to earn money for living. What do you think?
I mean, to some degree, yes. I mean, I think, you know, as a young person, well, anybody, I mean, dancing is fun, right? We love it.
True. Anyway, it's fun. Yeah.
It makes you feel alive. It makes you feel
absolutely
connected to the universe and to other people in really amazing ways. So I think that's probably the first reason that it feels good and it's exciting, and it's an opportunity for so much creative invention and collaboration and working together with other people. I think all of those things sometimes we forget about because we think of the business of it, right? And but I also want to say that I think that another thing that has changed in the time since I was just starting my career is that many programs where students are studying and getting degrees in dance have incorporated into their curriculum coursework that helps them really prepare for and think about the world beyond college and university. And you know, whether that is practicing grant writing or whether it's practicing entrepreneurship and thinking of businesses that allow you to take advantage of your skills and your knowledge that you learn through dance and apply it in other areas of the economy. And I think certainly not all. I mean, there are many more dancers than there are jobs for dancers.
And you also, and in the United States, students, maybe not only in the United States, but students also have the possibilities to have 2 degrees. That's what I first time saw in
many
there. They can have a major and minor, and actually they have two professions. They can.
That's right. And many, in fact, Anton, many of them nowadays, it's not uncommon for students to have double majors. So we just had a student graduate this year from Trinity, and she was a double major pre-med because she's going to medical school. But she was a double major in dance and I think biology.
Oh, cool.
And it's not uncommon. A year before that, we had someone that was a double major in math and dance. And
Yeah, that's cool. I think that's great because
I was in fact a double major. I was a double major in dance and German studies when I was in college.
cool. Yeah.
Not because I thought that, I don't know what, you know, I was interested in that because I had been a student in Germany, but anyway, it's not uncommon for people to double major, not only in dance and something else, but in many fields in college. And I think that's a nice thing for students to be able to do.
Yeah.
Mainly because I think, especially speaking in terms of dance, and I believe in this so much, that we as dancers, those of us that really love the art form and have a lot of investment in it, I think it's really incumbent upon us to build bridges to other areas of living and human activity, because too often dance is thought of as this particular thing.
Yeah.
And you and I have talked about this before, and it's a wondrous thing. And I think we're just at the beginning of really understanding how the role of creativity and creativity in the body has an impact on other aspects of living and thinking and making knowledge. And so I think that there's a lot of potential for people to study dance, explore dance, not necessarily even with a desire to be a professional performer, but maybe to learn from what the process of dancing is.
Yeah.
And connect that to other areas of inquiry.
Yeah, I agree. Yes, that makes sense when you think about dance as another way of living for you, as a part of your living. It's not like here for us mostly, you know, like if you're a dancer, you're only a dancer, and mostly it means that all your friends are dancers, all your colleagues, and you live, you know, in this big bubble, and you only talk about dance, and you're only thinking about dance, and when you meet people, you discuss dancers and choreographers. That's fun. And my question is very short. Did your parents or relatives told you, I don't know, when you was a student, why do you go dancing? This is not a profession. This is not a profession for men. You must be like that and earn money and this and this, because in Ukraine it's quite common, maybe in all post-Soviet countries.
Well, I mean, nobody in my family was an artist professionally. So I didn't grow up around adults, around people that were making their living as artists. And as I told you before, I didn't discover dance, modern dance anyway, until I was in college.
Mm-hmm.
So my family wasn't in the habit of going to see dance performances. I think as a child, I had been to see a show on Broadway, and I had been maybe to see the ballet once, but I didn't, and I had done a little bit of folk dancing, but I didn't really have a concept even of what dance was as a world of possibility. And my family was very supportive ultimately, but they also early on had a lot of questions. And even after I was dancing professionally, I definitely had questions from my father about, you know, how long are you going to do this? You know, when are you going to be able to make a real living, you know, or a better living, I guess? You know, what are you going to do about health insurance? And I had other relatives that I ultimately, like I said, everybody was very supportive. Ultimately, I think there were a lot of questions, and people were very curious. What is this? How is he going to do this? Because it did a little bit come out of nowhere. I mean, I was an athlete for many years from a child, and
where and what is athlete?
I played soccer, and I ran track, So I was active in sport.
Ah, okay.
And I also was active singing in choir and in theater growing up. So I always had these.
You have a choice.
Yes, I always had these interests. And in many ways, dance represented a beautiful kind of marriage of those interests for me.
Hmm.
But
Especially soccer included in the dance.
right, right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that my family was supportive ultimately, and they still are. That, you know, I sometimes I have to remind myself that all of the things that I do in dance are still new to a lot of people. I mean, you and I, it doesn't, it's not strange at all to go into a room and roll around on the floor with other people and, you know, do a lot of movement that is not everyday typical movement for other people. So,
Really?
well, don't you think? I mean,
I don't know. Do you that was also one of my question which I prepared. Did you dance sometimes just for yourself, just because you want to dance, and it doesn't mean go to the studio, but and not because you need to prepare something for the students or for something else, but just have music or don't have music and just dancing just for you.
sometimes, not a lot. It usually is part of whatever I'm thinking of in terms of work or having to prepare for something. But, you know, every now and then there are moments where I think to myself, oh, what's my hand doing? Or, you know, what's happening with my back right now? And it's not exactly dancing in some eyes maybe, but it is thinking about or using the body as a way of thinking in a way. But I was going to say, we did as a family, my parents really liked to social dance. Dancing, they did square dancing, and they did, you know, they were really lovely dancers at parties and things like that.
You mean you organize kind of parties with the family,
No,
or
I mean,
you
just
go outside?
even at home, my parents would, you know, we would put music on, and my parents would dance in the living room and then teach us those social dances,
So,
and square dancing and things like that. So dancing, you know, that form of interacting with other people was familiar to me and something that I liked. But dance as a quote unquote art form was not something that I had a lot of exposure to really until, at least not seriously, until college.
so it's good for you to have this support. But have you ever been thinking about seriously been thinking about changing job?
You know, I think I'm really, I don't know if I'm lucky or cursed, but no. You know, I think maybe years ago, I used to think if ever I decide that I want, you know, that I get tired of dance or whatever, I would go into gardening and running, you know, growing plants and flowers and things like that, because I grew up on a farm and I like being outside. But honestly, I've been so fortunate in my career to have such a rich variety of opportunities, from performing not only with Nikolai and other artists like Gina Gibney and Laura Glenn, but you know, later with Mark Morris and with the Hawkins Company, Eric Hawkins. I mean, really a wide variety of kinds of dance artists. And then just professionally making my own work and collaborating with people like you and other wonderful people, visual artists, musicians, filmmakers. I can't say that I've really ever thought about doing something else. At this point, it feels like it's part of me. It's a part of my life. It's how I understand the world in many ways. And yeah.
if I would ask you what would be another profession you would choose if you have to, you would say you would be a gardener?
Well, I used to think that.
But okay, but now can you imagine that you need to change your work like absolutely opposite direction? And what can you imagine? Who could you be?
That's difficult. I mean, originally I went to college thinking I was going to become, that I was going to study international relations and become a diplomat or an ambassador or something like that. So maybe if I had to think about not dancing, not living in my body in that way as a profession, something that would allow me to work with other people in other cultures, whether that's in the diplomatic arena or other kind of cultural nonprofit arena, maybe something like that. But yeah, I don't really like to think about that too much. Every now and then it's sort of, I don't know if you experience this or if all dancers experience this, but every now and then I used to think this, especially when I was living in New York City, if I'm walking across the street or if I'm riding a bike, or I think, what would happen if I got hit by a car right now? My career would be over. What would I do? I didn't often come up with a good answer, but every now and then I would have this flash of catastrophic injury changing my life, and thankfully, knock wood. Do you have that expression that in Ukraine where
yes, yeah, we only knock on the wood, but it's very important to knock on the wooden surface.
Yes.
And sometimes we knock on the head because, you know, head, when it's stupid, we say your head is like a wood.
Yes, exactly.
We have the same.
Yes, we have the same.
Cool. That's strange because a lot of different things and habits, very different.
It's true.
In the United States and in Ukraine, yeah. So, so I see that you said about the diplomatic work, and yeah, so probably this kind of communication, what is interesting for you is communication with people and finding these different ways of communications to connect with people. That's interesting. And do you think that that a dance can change people? I mean, I believe that dance can change dancers. I'm sure dancers and choreographers, because when you study dance, when you dance, when you create, when you see a lot of dance, and I can't explain. I think it's quite a long conversation, but it makes your way of thinking and watching the world, actually. But do you think that dance can really change people who watch dance? And if yes, then how they can be changed?
I do. I have to believe that, because when I was 18, I was changed. When I discovered dance, I didn't know anything about it, and then I found it, and it was like, whoa, this is a whole world that I don't know much about, and there's so much to learn. And in many ways, even though I've been dancing now professionally for 30 years, I still feel like there's so much that I don't know about the art form, and I'm excited about learning more. And I also think that, I mean, there are people that I've met that have come to see performances of mine or ours when we were working on that project 2 years ago. I think it can yes, absolutely change people. I have to believe that. And I think it's because it's in its best moments, dance is deeply, it celebrates what we are as a species. It celebrates humanity. And I think that it's impossible to imagine that, for me, maybe I'm wrong, but it's impossible to imagine that some dance somewhere, or dancing, not just watching a dance, but the feeling of dancing. I think that's also where your question is interesting, because
Yeah.
it might be that watching a dance, someone else's dance, might not always excite another person. But on the other hand, how many times have we all watched a little baby dancing to a drum beat or dancing to the music that they hear? And it's exciting for us to watch that.
Mm.
So I think, I don't know, I have to believe that it can change people. I also believe that it does not always change people, or the same dance does not always change people,
Yeah.
right? And so what you and I like might be similar, but it also might be different. And what you and the person walking down the street likes will not always be the same. But I think at its most basic level, this celebration of motion, this thing that is the definition of living, it is energy, and it is vitalizing, and it offers so much, I think, for creative exploration, that I do remain, even after all this time, and knowing how difficult it is, I still believe that it has a wonderful power. But the alignment, how those things come together, that might be chance.
Yeah, and I remember. I know that our project that we did in Ukraine, it started.
Could I show some video of it?
Yeah, maybe I'd like to say about your performance. What was the beginning of our collaboration? Your 100 days.
Yeah, I have some of that.
Yeah, and that's interesting to see a small part of it, and to talk about this also.
Great. So what I'll show you is actually a little promotional video.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay.
So you'll see some text and et cetera, but I think it'll give you an idea of the piece. Okay, I'm going to share the screen.
Mm-hmm.
And close your eyes. Close your eyes and listen to the sound of what I'm doing. Breakdance basics. Mass moving bocce ball. Jittery jaw guy. Sidewalk dancer.
Yeah, I love the video. Yeah, that's cool. By the way, I didn't see it. I saw some others, but I didn't see this one. It's very good made. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and as far as I know what actually the performance was about, I'm just curious what the audience was talking about the performance after they watched it.
In some ways, Anton, I think this piece received the most positive audience response I've ever had. I think, I mean, and for example, someone said to me, because let me just explain. I did this performance. It was about an hour long, and at the end of it, I always had a question and answer session, which is unusual. But I also, while I was doing the question and answer session, in the background, I would show the source video that I got all of the movements from.
Mm-hmm.
And so people were seeing that in relationship to what they had seen me do. And some of them told me afterwards that it was like they learned how to see movement. And so, and then a couple of days later, some of them wrote to me and said, I left the theater and I was walking out on the street and it was like a whole new world opened up to my awareness.
Mm-hmm.
So that was very exciting to hear. I mean, because that's, I don't know, that's how I feel. Not always, you know, I'm not at every moment when I'm outside looking at movement and with a kind of amazement, but when I stop and give myself a moment to actually notice and not be in a rush to go somewhere, it's quite beautiful. The movement of people, the movement of any trees, the wind, you know, I mean, there's a lot of beauty there to see, even in things that we might normally not think of as beautiful in a traditional sense.
Yeah.
You know, the movement of that jaw.
Yeah.
It's amazing and beautiful.
How many times did you present the performance for the audience?
When I premiered it, I had 3 performances. And then 6 months later, we did a repeat run of, I think, 3 more performances. And then a year later, I was invited to perform in Mexico, and I performed it there, I think, twice.
Oh, cool.
Once or twice, I can't remember. And that's it. So it's, in a way, it's sad, right? I mean, dance, it's like we put so much effort into making it.
Yeah, that's my question. That's my question, Peter. What have you been disappointed? Because it's like maximum 1,000 people saw it, and when you say, and you know, and I know it, that if a dance can change people living and understanding the world, that it looks really sad that we don't have possibility to present it, to show it to the people.
Yeah, and that's where, in a way, you know, my experience of dancing with Nikolai and with Mark Morris and these companies that traveled all over the world to big theaters where, you know, there were thousands of people in the theater. You know, I was very lucky to have that experience as a young dancer performing other people's work. And we were performing often the very same dances from one theater to the next. You know, that's what, it's not unusual, right? For those big companies.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I think there are days where I'm disappointed, where I wish, you know, seeing it again with you now, just now, and talking about it makes me wish that I could share it with more people, or, but I also, you know, we make choices, I suppose. And, you know, if I had put more effort into the marketing and promotion of that individual project or other individual projects, maybe I could have had more people see them. But also because I'm so easily interested in a new project, in a new idea, I very often am ready to go and just dive into the next new thing. And sometimes that means having to let go of the thing that you did before. But I do think that it's a balance that many of us have to try to find. And some people are much more interested in making something and then promoting it and building a way for themselves to show it again and again and again. And that's difficult, right?
Yeah.
Because it's difficult because audiences are different, and whoever the people are that are running theaters and making decisions about programming, they have to know the work or want to be interested in it or feel that they can sell it to their audiences, you know. And there's a balance and a tension there, I think, for people that are in a producing role. They have to find a balance between keeping the theater running and selling tickets and exposing people to new things that might not always sell as many tickets, right? So it's a fascinating economy, actually, that I wish maybe some economics, an economist would look into and find some answers for what model could work. Because I agree with you, there's a lot of beautiful work that's made by so many artists that doesn't get seen beyond a very small circle. And some of that is the result of how easy it is to get entertainment on a screen or in a movie theater. Although nowadays it's interesting, right? Because of COVID, it's going to be very interesting to see how this changes the way that we make art, make work, and share it for I think years to come. This whole pandemic that we're all going through, at least here in the United States, as you know, it's very problematic right now, and so public gatherings will continue to be limited for a long time, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know, it's kind of difficult to explain, but sometimes, and even now, I'm thinking about that. If there is, if I have a performance, for example, and I think that it's important for me. There are some ideas inside it which is important for me to talk about this, and I feel that it's also interesting for the audience, and it can change people. But I can imagine the situation, at least in Ukraine, for example, that somebody told me, okay, you can present this performance once a week here on this venue, but you won't get any money for this. But if you feel this important for you and for the people, okay, you do it. And if imagine this situation, what would you say? How the economic works here? What is more important, to talk about the ideas and let's say change the world, or okay, I will change the world, but you should pay money for this?
You know, I remember all those years ago when I was dancing for Murray Lewis and Nikolai, you know, that, you know, 30 years ago, they were lamenting how the art form was being changed in many ways because of the pressures of economy.
Yeah.
And that when they started back in the late 1940s, I mean, obviously, living in New York City didn't cost as much. The cost of living generally was not quite so difficult. We didn't have all of the things that we spend money on now. It doesn't mean that there wasn't hardship back then, but I think that the notion of occupying your life with something that feels meaningful, regardless of whether you're getting compensated for it, is valuable, right?
Yeah.
But it also is true that because we live in this time now, and it's expensive to live, it's sort of it's a strange idea, actually, right? It's expensive to live, and it's expensive to live healthily, to live well in some cases. Here, it's much more expensive to buy healthy organic vegetables than it is to buy vegetables that are somehow mass produced and treated with pesticides and all these other things. You know, I mean, it's,
Well, you know, Peter, I don't believe. I think this idea of eco food, it's another kind of doing business.
well, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
I mean, you can believe it or not, but there is, you know, there is something.
Well, maybe that's why I have my own vegetable garden now, anyway. But I think, you know, it's a big idea. That what do we do in an economy that's driven by money, making money, and where art is not historically, or it's not always about that. And so if that doesn't mean it shouldn't be or it can't be, I very much appreciate when I get paid, and I want to get paid for what I do, and I want to pay the artists that I work with. That's important to me. And it's important that artists stand up for themselves and say that they need to be compensated, that they're not just doing it for free. But I also think that, you know, and maybe each person has to make those decisions for him or herself, when they're willing to do this and when they're willing to do that, and when they're willing to do it without getting paid and when they are not. I think that, you know, I don't have the answers for all of this. I guess all I can say is that as an artist myself, I try to be as professional as I can be in every aspect of my work, so that people will look at the work with respect, even if they don't always understand it. You know, I think that we can see excellence in one another when it's there, and I also think that we can see when something is maybe not excellent. And that's different than whether we like it or not.
And then another part of it, it's just a short question. Did you ever dance what you don't like dancing just because they pay for it? And you just come to dance because they pay and you need this money, but you hate this kind of dancing or this place or these people or whatever?
Rarely. I don't think I really have. I mean, there are dances that I like better than others.
Yeah.
Dancing, performing. But I think, again, I feel very fortunate that I mostly have been able to do things that I find somehow really interesting and engaging. Yeah.
I think you're happy.
But maybe
lucky you are.
Yeah, very lucky. But maybe, I don't know. I also, because I think of myself as an optimist, and because I like to try to find something, I mean, I'm interested in movement generally and specifically. And so maybe if I were presented with the situation with, I don't know, it's hard for me in a way to even imagine a kind of, I know there are dances that I'm bad at,
Yeah.
but it doesn't mean that I don't enjoy them. So maybe there would have to be other circumstances in the situation that would make me really not want to do it, but have to do it anyway. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, and thank you, Peter. And I have one last question, which is quite strange, but I want you to imagine the situation when you are on the stage and you're just alone, and you need to dance your solo dance, your solo performance, not prepared at all. And I mean, it's completely improvisation performance. You know nothing about music, you know nothing about the audience, you know nothing what you're going to do. And you have just one person in the audience. And it is the President of the United States. What would your dance look like? Or maybe you wouldn't be dancing, you would prefer to talk. And if you would prepare to talk, what the question or conversation would be?
Oh, that's a fascinating question, Anton.
Or how this dance can you imagine how this dance would look like?
You know, oddly, I don't know, I kind of can. I feel like I could imagine doing what I do, which is to inhabit my instrument, to follow impulse in the body, and maybe I would break it up with some conversation or some words that sort of give emphasis to the feeling that's happening in the body. I think it would need, I would want it to be, a combination of sensitive and strong, and maybe silly, but also athletic. I think that it would demonstrate, I would want to demonstrate the ability to make change with the body and energy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I could do that. It may be, I may be prideful to say that, but I mean, it's also what I like doing.
Yeah, and that's
And I believe in it. I believe in it. I like it in part because I believe in it. And I believe in it, I think, in part because I like it.
okay. And can you say just one person now you would love to dance for? I mean, one person you would love to have in the audience, just not, I mean, just one, you and this person, and love for the and dance for this person. It could be, I know, the person from any century, from any continent, from whenever.
You know, I don't know, maybe it would be maybe it would be someone like Isadora Duncan or a painter. And I love, well,
Painter.
yeah, a painter. Maybe someone like Paul Klee or Rodin, the sculptor.
Uh-huh.
Oh boy, these are good questions. I think I mean, I love the idea of just celebrating sensation and experience in the body and in three-dimensional space. I don't know. Well, gosh, one person.
It's a good question to think about.
Yeah, it really is. Nijinsky, maybe?
Nijinsky, oh.
Uh,
I don't know, when you know, when I think about that, I mostly think about not the artists, but about the people who is kind of in a trouble,
uh-huh,
who is a kind of, you know, who need support, who need help, who need words to be said to something. And because sometimes I feel like the quite a simple dance, minimalistic dance, can make changes for people, can make them feel better. But you know, it's different point of view. You can sometimes I think, oh, I would love to dance for somebody like Isadora, and it's interesting what would she said. Oh, how dance changed with these 100 years.
right.
Everything is different. Your people are fantastic. You people also, yeah.
Or maybe for a physicist,
Mhm.
like someone who studies physics. I'll have to think some more on that, Anton.
Okay, think about that and let me know. You can send me an email.
I will. I will.
Okay, thank you, Peter.
Thank you so much. Do you
We're
want
about to stop to finish.
Should I show a little something else?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we have time anyway.
Let me think here. I'm going to show you a little film that I made. You may have seen this before, but I made this film in China in 2015.
Yeah, this small short movies.
It's called Crowd Scene.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Yeah, let's see.
all right.
Mm-hmm. Magic. It's magic, really. It's like,
Well, I
yeah.
don't know about that, but I do love that piece, and I had such it was such an adventure making it. But why do you say magic?
I don't know, because it, it like takes me in.
Hmm.
And to be with the dancers, to be inside the space, like trying to watch with them, to look where they look. Yeah, that's interesting. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I love the way that I think that film in particular, that one of the things I love about it is the feeling that I get of movement uh, and architecture, and I don't know. It's I was so lucky that that all happened and that it came together in such a short time with those wonderful dancers. I don't know if we have time to show one little thing. Do you want to, should I share a couple minutes of our shirts and shoes?
Yes.
And I'm seeing a little theme for myself. I'm realizing that a connection between 100 Days, which I made in 2012, and then Crowd Scene, which we just watched, was 2015. And then Shirts and Shoes was 2018. But there really is in some ways, there's a through line for me that I'm noticing about the kinds of movement that I'm interested in.
Mm.
So what I could do is I could either show a little bit of rehearsal, that promo that Sasha put together, or a little bit from, I think I'll show a little bit from the production.
Okay.
All right, here goes. There you are.
Oh, who is dancing?
Feels like it was so long ago that we did this.
Mhm.
Maybe I'll pause it there.
Mhm.
Huh.
Yeah.
There's so much more we could share, but I know that our time is up.
Yeah, but it's a good memory to see this.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, that was such a rich process that we went through. And I know we were talking recently, and I was saying how amazing that team was. But when I look at that again, it really was. I mean, we had this really compressed amount of time, and we worked really intensely. What's one thing that you remember from that in particular that felt either really hard or really funny?
Mm. I remember our trains. I don't know why, but I remember how we were in the trains going from one city to the other.
I'll
I
never
remember
forget it.
how I remember very good how we celebrated the end of the tour in Kharkiv.
Yeah.
And I remember very well, I still have it, all these papers with the things you wrote to me. You, Lena, and Ira, because you left earlier. And
Yes.
when I come back to the room, I found these cards with the words. It was so touchy.
Yeah.
I still have it. Yeah, it was beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I remember laughing so much in trying to work on the details of some of these movements, trying to understand them and see each other try to understand them. Yeah. Well, thank you, Anton, for helping to make that happen. And
Yeah. Yeah. We'll try. We'll try. Maybe we'll find. We'll
we
see
will-
we'll see how the world will change
yeah, indeed.
after all this pandemic, and what other possibilities could be.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I think it's great that you're doing these interviews. I'm really interested to watch more of the ones that you have already done and ones that you do going forward. So thank you for including me. I'm honored.
Thank you. Thank you again, Peter. I have almost night
Yes, right.
behind my window. I'm going to have my dinner.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank
And
you.
let's keep in touch. And yeah, let's maybe connect next week.
That sounds great.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, for you.
Bye. And thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Anton.
Bye.
Пока.
Пока.